Hello, this is Kira Gareke with Teens in the Driver's Seat Teen Advisory Board. Thank you for attending today's session. Here are some tips to help make this session a great experience. We are committed to saving lives and reducing crashes on our roads and request each participant commit to connecting to our event from a safe location. Please do not connect while driving or operating any form of machinery. First, notice a panel to the right with several tabs. Here is where you can chat, ask questions, retrieve handouts, and see answered polls. The chat is public and you are encouraged to say hello and answer any prompts that appear there. If you have questions, post those in the Q&A window. Any handouts can be downloaded from that tab. And finally, poll questions will appear directly on your screen. The prize drawing for a $50 gift card will be held at the end of this session, so make sure you stay on for that. Finally, at the conclusion of the webinar, please complete a very quick survey for this session, which will help the presenter and us improve in the future. Lastly, we hope you enjoy the session.
Hello and welcome. My name is Amari, and I am one of the TDS Teens Advisory Board members with the Teens in the Driver's Seat program. Our first presenter is Jeff Langloss from Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Mr. Langloss has worked in the transportation industry since the mid-1980s. He started out as an over-road trucker driver and enjoyed the time seeing the country. He then went on to be an instructor at a community college and taught many different classes. He joined the Officer of Motor Carriers, now FMCSA, in 1997. He was an investigator in Kentucky for 10 years. He became the federal program manager for the Texas division in 2007. While with the FMCSA, he has worked on many different projects, but has also continued in teaching and developing classes to promote safety. Please help me welcome Mr. Langloss.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Langloss with Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, which is part of the United States Department of Transportation. And I just want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come speak to you today. I've got one of our investigators with us as well that's going to kind of help me out here during the presentation. I'll let him introduce himself.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John O'Keefe. I'm a hazardous materials specialist out of the Texas division. Thank you for inviting us.
Thanks, John, and thanks for your help here today as well. So what we're going to talk about today is part of your guys' Respect the Rig program that you guys bring into your schools, and give you a little background about our agency and about myself here. So our agency regulates the trucking industry, all the rules they have to follow for the drivers and the companies. That is what our agency does. And prior to coming to the agency, I've been with them about 23, 24 years now. I was an over-the-road truck driver. I drove semis all over the country. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about from the driver perspective of each of these areas. So I'm going to break down each area for you, and then we'll do a little exercise at the end that I'd like all of you to participate in as well. So give the truck room. As you guys know, trucks are long. They're about 65 feet long. They can weigh up to 40 tons. And when you weigh that heavy and you're moving 65, 70 miles an hour, it can take up to 2 football fields to stop that vehicle. And that's information that I know you guys are passing along, but some of it is also, it takes that much weight longer to get started too. So when you're behind them in the city at a stoplight, things like that, and they start to go, it's going to take them longer to get up to that 35, 40, 45 miles an hour. So be patient with them if you're behind them, because sometimes it's not always an interaction with the truck, but it's trying to dart in and around them that all of a sudden can cause another incident with other vehicles around you. So be patient if you're behind them. It does take them longer to get started as well. Pass them on the left. The left is where the smallest blind spot for a truck is. Trucks don't have rear view mirrors, and we'll talk about the blind spots here in a little bit. But also trucks in the city, when they're making turns and turning to the right especially, the cab takes a much wider turn than what the trailer does. The trailer will take a much shorter path. So when you see them at a corner, watch for that turn signal. They may be hugging the center lane. They may even be a little bit over that center line when they turn right, depending upon where the car on the other street stopped, depends upon how they have to maneuver that corner. As you see in this picture, you see the path of the cab and the path of the trailer is almost up against the curb. That trailer will take about a 55-foot radius around the corner, and the cab will have to swing really wide. So stay on their left as much as possible when you're passing them. Know the no zone. This is where every truck has a much larger blind spot than what we have in our cars. One of the things I always remind people about is in your car, you've got a rearview mirror. You can look up to your rearview mirror, see what is directly behind you. You also have side mirrors to see what's beside you. In a large truck, they don't have a rearview mirror. They have no way to see what is directly behind them because that trailer is behind them. So it increases their blind spot behind them. And because the vehicles are large, the blind spots to the left and right are also very large. We talked in the previous slide about passing them on the left. And the reason we did that was because if you look at this photo, the blind spot on the left is smaller than the blind spot on the right. The left has a blind spot and it's usually closer to the front of the trailer and the back of the cab. They can see a little bit better, obviously right beside them when you're next to their window and farther back in the trailer. But it's the blind spots to the right that can extend 2 lanes. And if there are more lanes over there, if you're on a road that has, 5 lanes, the farther to the right you are, the more lanes of that blind spot they can't see, but the farther you are away from the truck as well, which makes it a lot better. So stay on their left side. The blind spot on the front is the one I want to talk about also. So we talked about the distance it takes them to stop. In front of that vehicle, they can't see as much, especially within that first 20 to 30 feet, depending upon the design of the cab. And I always try to get people to think of it as when you're driving your car, you have good vision of all the other vehicles around you. But if you think about the kids that have these battery powered cars that they drive up and down the sidewalk, imagine if one of those, if you parked your car and put one of those in front of you, 5-10 feet in front of you, would you be able to see that little vehicle? And you probably couldn't. And that's what it's like sitting in the seat of a cab. Because they're much higher and the car is so much lower, when it is close to them in the front, they cannot see them. So make sure when you come back in front of them after passing them that you're well in front of them so that they can keep an eye on you. Watch for debris. Trucks, you have the load on the trailer. You also have the tires. If a truck blows a tire, as you can see in this picture, this is just a truck that the front steering axle tire blew and the damage it did to the truck. This wasn't a truck involved in an accident. That damage is from that blown tire. The pressure is tremendous. They have a lot of pressure on those tires. The tires are a lot larger. They can weigh up to 110 pounds. So just keep that in mind that you don't want to hang out just right beside them at any given time, because if they do blow a tire, part of the tire could come off, hit you. We've all seen those big chunks of rubber on the side of the road. That's the tread coming off of a tire. You don't want to be right there. So give them that room, pass them on the left, get by them as quick as you can when you are passing them, and always make sure you position your car in an area that they can see you. And then the rural road danger. Rural roads always have more fatalities than interstates and city roads do. A lot of the reason why is that sense of security on rural roads. We get out on these rural roads and we look at it like in the picture below, and there's nobody around us and it's wide open space. And we get that sense of security that there's less chances for us to be involved in an accident at this point. And that's where sometimes we take a little bit of risk that we shouldn't take, such as looking down at a text or, speeding a little bit faster. And those are the things that cause problems. If you start texting and then that curve comes up, all of a sudden, if you drift over that line, you don't know what's around that curve on that rural road. There may be a truck, another car, something coming along. And if you creep just a little bit into their lane, a lot of these rural roads don't have big shoulders for people to be able to maneuver around. So just keep that in mind as you move on the rural roads. It's actually more dangerous. So keep your focus, keep everything going. And again, give the truck the more room. And if you are in a passing zone and think you need to pass a truck, keep in mind they're a lot longer. It takes a lot longer to pass them. You need a lot more room to be able to do it, which means you need to be able to see for a much longer distance. So just kind of go over that a little bit. You know, trucks can be 65 feet long, so they do take longer to pass. They can weigh up to 40 tons. So getting started and stopping especially takes time. So don't get in a rush and get by them and then cut over in front of their lane and then, you know, stop at a red light, because they were expecting that room that they saw in front of them to get their vehicle stopped. So don't take that distance away from them. Another thing is that large vehicles look like they're moving slower than what they are at a distance. So if you're at that rural road area and you're at a stop sign and you want to turn left or right, and you look to your left and you see a semi truck coming down, if it's a little ways away from you, you know, quarter of a mile, it looks like it's moving slower than what they're actually moving. And the example I like to give people is, think about when you come up on a railroad track and the arms came down, and you look down the track and you see the train and you think to yourself, well, why did the arms come down? I had plenty of time to get across these tracks before that train's going to get here. But then when that train gets there, all of a sudden you notice how fast it's moving and it's zooming right by you. That's because a train's another large item. Trucks make very wide turns, especially right turns. We talked about those, but even left turns. So when you're in the city and two lanes are turning left, you'll notice that the semi truck will always take that outside lane almost every time. And the reason they do that is they know that they need the inside lane, that their trailer is going to encroach it a little bit when they make that turn. Not as much as a right turn, but it does still come into that. So keep in mind, if you're in the far left lane and they're beside you and you're both turning left, you need to make that corner a little bit quicker than them so that they can have that lane. If you're at the back of the trailer, give them the room they need, because that trailer is going to come a little bit into your lane as they make that turn. And the other thing is, trucks can have a high center of gravity. So when you're on an interstate and you're exiting an exit ramp, if there's a couple lanes that exit, like I know here in the Austin area where I'm located, we have, you know, 2 lanes that can exit. Keep in mind that if the speeds are a little bit higher, if that truck takes it too quick, that high center of gravity gives them a more likely chance of rolling over. So just when you're exiting like that, don't get up beside them. Their blind spot becomes bigger when that cab has a little bit of a bend in it. The high center of gravity, just take the time, get around the curve with them as you exit, and then make your maneuver to go past them if they're moving slower than the speed limit and you need to get by them. One other thing I want to talk to you about is multitasking. So multitasking is just doing more than one task at the same time. So that's the definition of it. The problem with multitasking is you cannot give your full attention to one task you are doing. Now, I always say every one of us multitasks every day, because if you're doing more than one task at the same time, technically you're multitasking. Well, right now I'm talking to you and I'm breathing at the same time. So technically I'm multitasking. The difference with that multitasking is how many of us honestly think about breathing. You know, we don't have to think about exhale, inhale. So we're able to multitask without thinking about one of the things we're doing. The problem when you do other multitasking, like if I try to talk and read at the same time, I can't give a full attention to either one of them. So let's test this and see how we do at multitasking. I'm going to ask all of you to join in with me here. I want you to do the same exercise that I'm now going to ask John to help me with. And we're going to do this together. So because we're doing this virtually, all of us are in different places, so nobody's going to see how you do. And you don't have to tell anybody how you do, but please take the time and do the same task John is going to do as we talk about them. So what we're going to do is everyone will need to be ready to do two things, but we're going to do them separately first, and then we're going to do them together. So you need to know real quick and count as fast as you can from 1 to 10. We're also going to say our ABCs through the letter J, and I'll explain how we're going to do it as we go. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to count from 1 to 10 just as fast as you can. Now, John's going to do it today, but we did it earlier and I timed him. So the times we're going to talk about are the times from when we did it previously. He's probably practiced since then because he may not have liked his times, and that's okay. So I'm going to count to 3 and then I'm going to say go. And I want everybody to count from 1 to 10 just as fast as you can. John, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, I'm going to guess everybody else is probably done by now too. When John and I did this earlier, it took John 1.22 seconds to count from 1 to 10. That's pretty fast. All the times I've done this, that's pretty normal. I've seen a few people do it just under 1 second, but almost everybody can do it in 1.5 seconds to count 1 to 10. So now what we're going to do is we're going to say ABC as fast as we can. You're going to go to the letter J, but everybody, don't stop at J. If you want to go past it, that's fine. When I timed John, what I did is I listened for the letter J, and once I heard it, I stopped the clock. But we're not used to stopping our ABCs at a certain letter, so it's okay to go past it. Don't worry about that. John, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody, as quick as you can, A to J. 1, 2, 3, go.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K.
Okay, we heard J, and I'm guessing everybody else is finished by now as well. So before, when we did this, it took John 1.49 seconds. So it took him a little bit longer to say ABCs than it did to count from 1 to 10. And the reason we stop at J, J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. And so it's keeping it equal 1 to 10 and to J. So just a little bit longer. That's pretty normal as I've done this over the years, is it just takes slightly longer to say ABCs than it does to count 1, 2, 3. I'm guessing almost every one of you were either just slightly faster, equal, or a little bit longer than John, but none of you probably took that long to do either one of these tasks. So now we're going to multitask, everybody. So how we're going to multitask? You get to choose which one you do first. You can either count and ABCs or ABCs and count, but you've got to do them at the same time. So what you're going to do is you are going to say your alphabet and count at the same time. It is going to either look like 1A, 2B, 3C, or you're going to be doing A1, B2, 3, or C3. But keep going until you hit 10J or J10. This one you're going to find is a little more difficult, but let's see how well you do. So hopefully everybody's ready. Are you ready, John?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's try to multitask. 1, 2, 3, go.
1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, 6F, 7G, 8H, 9I, 10J.
I'm letting it go a little bit longer because I'm guessing some of you may not have gotten there yet. Okay, we'll go ahead and stop it, but I'm going to guess some of you finished, some of you didn't, some of you got to about F, E, and had to start going A, B, C, D to try to figure out what the 7th letter of the alphabet was. That's pretty normal. When John and I did this before, it took John 21.75 seconds to be able to do that together. Like I say, I think he practiced a little bit. It sounded like today he was probably somewhere between about 16 to 20 seconds, but it was clear that it took him longer to do it together than it took him to do either one of them. But that's, when we did it before, it took John 14 times longer to say his than it did to say his alphabet. It took him 18 times longer than just counting alone. So why do we do this? The reason we do this, and the reason I like to show this to people, when a person tries to text and drive, talk on the phone and drive, change a radio station and drive, doing anything other than driving, you are in fact multitasking. You're trying to pay attention to the road, the street lights, the stop sign, the other cars around you, the speed limit, but you're also trying to think about what radio station do I want to listen to, and trying to hit the scan button, and where is the scan button? That's multitasking. Your brain cannot think of both of them simultaneously. It has to do one at a time. So since we now know it can take you up to 18 times longer to do what is a simple task when multitasking, think about the dangers you put yourself and others at when you try to multitask at 25 to 70 miles per hour. That is when all of a sudden you're multitasking and you're in that no zone of a truck a lot longer than you anticipated with, because your brain can't say, hey, wait, I'm in the no zone, and, oh, I'm trying to read this text or send this text. That's why it's very important, multitasking when you're driving doesn't work. It causes problems out there on the road. So that's why I did the exercise with you. I always give people a couple other exercises. I like the counting and the ABCs because they're really easy for us to do. Another way you can do it is use the word impossible and spell the word impossible by writing it down, and then count 1 to 10, and then try to spell impossible and count at the same time. You'll find the same issues. It will take you much longer to do them both at the same time than it will ever take you to do one of them at a time. So what I want to do is I also want to thank all of you. I want to thank you for what you do every day. You take this message to your peers at your schools. And that is, to me, something I just love to see. What John and I do for a living is the mission of our agency is to save lives by reducing crashes with large vehicles. That is our sole mission. And that is a mission you guys have taken on, not only with large vehicles, but with all driving as you go to your schools. And we do appreciate that and thank you, and want to make sure that you know that there are people that see what you're doing out there. But I want to leave you with a message as well. You can never see the life that you saved. All we see is the life we didn't save, because we hear about the people involved in the fatal crash. The person walking down the school hall with you, the tomorrow or the next time you're back in a school building, you don't know if you saved their life or not. But always know that everything you're doing today has an impact tomorrow and for years to come, because people do remember it. And you may not see it immediately, but know that what you're doing does have an impact. We thank you for what you do, and we also thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you today. Thank you.
Our next presenters today are Alan Boyd and Alfonso Lewis from the American Trucking Association with their presentation on the Share the Road professional driver. Mr. Alan Boyd is an over-the-road driver for Walmart Transportation and has been a professional truck driver for over 40 years. Alan has accumulated over 3.1 million accident-free miles. Each month, Alan speaks to new media, schools, community groups, industry officials, and policymakers about highway safety and the economic essentiality of the trucking industry. Alan lives in Everett, Pennsylvania. He has 2 children and a grandson. Mr. Al Lewis is a local driver for Yellow and has been a professional truck driver for 31 years. Over the course of his career, Alfonso has accumulated over 2 million accident-free miles. Al is a frequent competitor at truck driving championships, where he has earned numerous titles and awards. He is a church trustee, assistant class leader, and a church lay council member. In his free time, Al enjoys racquetball, riding his motorcycle, and spending time with his wife, Regina, and their 2 children in Montgomery, Alabama. Please help me welcome Mr. Boyd and Mr. Lewis.
Home at last. The sign of another successful week. Hi, I'm Alan Boyd. I've been a driver for over 40 years. I've taken great pride in making sure that America moves forward by delivering it products that people need and want, not only on time, but safely as well. You know, one thing I've learned early on in my career, that driving is not a right. Driving is a privilege, and with that privilege comes responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility to drive their vehicle safe. And nothing in this video is intended to take any responsibility off me as a driver. Rather, it's intended to give you the tools so that you can make good, safe decisions for yourself, so that you can go home to your family and others can too. You know, reading, writing, and arithmetic will help you become successful in life. However, the information that you get in this video will help you keep being successful in life and give others the opportunity as well. You know, somewhere, somehow, some way, someone's going to make a decision based on what the information that they learned in this video. The bad news is, I'll never know that. The good news is, I don't have to. You know, we enjoyed doing this video, and I hope you enjoy watching it as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ralph Garcia, and I'm a professional truck driver with 37 years experience on the road and 3.5 million miles of safe driving. Today, you're going to have the opportunity to hear firsthand from professional truck drivers how to maneuver around a truck safely. First of all, let's go over some tips before we get started. Never cut in front of a truck. Give us enough room. Second, stay out of the blind spots around a truck. Third, have enough cushion behind us. Don't follow too closely so you have enough time to stop. Also, trucks make wide right turns. Give us enough space to do those turns. And if you break down on the side of the road, make sure you get far enough off the road that you're safe. And last but not least, distracted driving. Don't text and drive. Stay off that phone. Let's get started, and we're going to hear from our drivers.
Hey, I'm Alan Boyd. I've been driving trucks professionally for 35 years. I know I don't look that old, right? Scratch that, don't answer. What I've learned is the right side of this truck is the largest blind spot we have. This blind spot can actually go over 3 lanes wide. I can lose a whole tractor and trailer. So it's very important when you get in this position to get yourself out as quickly as you can. Did you know that 35% of all car-truck related accidents, the car is in the truck driver's blind spot? Well, it's true. And how do you know that you're in the blind spot? In this position, it's very important to make sure you can see that driver's smiling face in the mirror. If you can't see that truck driver smiling face in the mirror, he can't see you. Remember, when that truck moves over to the left lane to let you off a ramp, that brings you out into this position, and that's okay. Make sure you slow down a little bit, allow the truck time to get back in front of you. That allows everybody to pass on the left where it's a lot safer. Remember to make good decisions when you drive.
Hi, I'm Alfonso Lewis. I've been a professional truck driver for 28 years, have 1.4 million safe driving miles. And today I want to talk to you about the rear blind spot of a tractor trailer. First of all, I want to tell you where I do not want you. I don't want you tailgating me. You know why? If I make a sudden stop, guess where you may end up? It's right here. I don't want you there. One other thing, I'm a big guy and I drive a pretty big truck. If there's an object in the road, I can straddle it. And if I straddle it and it comes out and you don't see it, you will not have time to react. Think about that object as an alligator. You don't want that alligator to bite you. So I want you 20 car lengths behind me where I can see you. If you can see my mirror, you're in a safe spot where I can see you and you can see me. And that's where I want you at.
Hello, my name's Don Biggerstaff. I'm a professional truck driver. I've been in the industry for 37 years and have accumulated 1.4 million safe driving miles. And I'm here today to tell you about one of the blind spots that we have on the truck. The left side, the driver's side. We see you best out of this side from our vantage point in the truck. And this is the side that we want you to pass us on. But I need to make it clear, we do have a small blind spot located about where this car is, right behind the driver's seat in the truck. If you're in this position, we could lose you in our mirrors and not see you. So if you find yourself in this spot beside the truck, we want you to safely maneuver on around us. That keeps us safer and you safer. And really, that's what the Share the Road program is all about.
This is the front end of the truck. The worst thing you could do is cut in front of a truck. Rule of thumb, look in your rear view mirror, and when you can see the whole truck in that mirror, that's the time to come over. That usually puts you 10 car lengths in front of our vehicle. Your car usually weighs 4,000 pounds, and fully loaded, this semi could weigh up to 80,000 pounds. And going 60 miles an hour, it could take the length of a football field and 2 end zones to stop.
So what you're telling me, Ralph, then is that if I'm driving a 4,000 pound car, that'd be 20 times my weight.
That's right.
That'd be like a 200 pound wrestler wrestling a man weighing 4,000 pounds.
Exactly, kind of like me wrestling you.
As a professional driver, I use every means possible to see out of my vehicle. Of course, I don't have the luxury of looking in a rearview mirror like you do in a car, or throwing my arm over the seat and looking at the back windshield. I have to use the tools that's been given me, my windshields and my mirrors, to see what I need to see. That's why this front windshield is so important. It's like my big screen television. It allows me to see what's going on out in front of me. 2 other important tools that I have are my mirrors on each side, outside of the truck. I have my right mirror, which allows me to see a narrow path down the right side of my trailer. However, not 2, 3, and 4 lanes over. The mirror on my left-hand side, with head movement, I can see better out of that one, which is the side we want you to pass us on. No matter what I'm doing, I have to focus on my driving. And that's what we want you to do. Because if we all stay focused on the highway, it'll be a much safer place for all of us.
Distracted driving is just as dangerous as drunk driving. Distractions in your car could be eating, drinking, could be talking to someone, and most common ones are on your phone or texting. Did you know if you travel 60 miles per hour for 6 seconds distracted, that you have actually went the length of a football field? What we want you to do is concentrate on your job, and that's driving.
You know, we had a lot of fun doing this video, and I hope you got the understanding that we're very proud of our record and we're very passionate about safety. And we've interjected some humor to make it fun. However, when you're driving, there is one place that you absolutely must keep your focus, and that's in a construction zone. You know, a construction zone is simply a temporary inconvenience for a major improvement. You know, those guys that are working on that road are working on that road for one reason, and that's to make the highway safer. There's a couple things you need to remember when you're going into a construction zone. Number one, always obey the speed limit. That speed limit is set in place for everybody's safety. Also, the solid white lines are there so that nobody crosses that solid white line. It's very important never to tailgate, and especially not in a construction zone. Because in construction zones, things happen quickly. And the last thing you want is to run into the back of somebody because something happened in front of them. Remember, every one of those construction workers are mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and they all want the same thing that you and I do. And no matter who you are, whether you drive a truck, drive a car, or work in that construction zone, everybody's goal is to make the most important trip, the trip home, safely.
Wow, what a great video with some awesome tips. My name is Alfonso Lewis, a professional truck driver for Yellow, and I'm based out of Montgomery, Alabama. I've been driving for over 31 years. And I really want to stress to you again about how dangerous distracted driving is. Taking your eyes off the road for even 3 seconds can have a huge impact. So once you put the keys in the ignition and everyone's buckled up, your eyes and attention should be focused on the road. No text or phone call is so important that it can't wait until you're safely parked. So many of us teach our kids to remind us that everyone should be buckled up before driving on our journey. Teach them also to remind everyone to put the phones down, to keep your eyes on the road and not be distracted. Thanks for watching. Alan and I both were very excited to be part of this video because safety is so important to us, and so are you.
This is Joanna Menendez with the TDS Teen Advisory Board. A quick thank you to our presenters and to you for attending this session. Congratulations to the prize winner! You will receive your gift card in the email used to register for this summit. And don't forget to take the survey! And have a great rest of your day.